Welcome to the Turning Lemons into Lemonade podcast. Each week, your host, Amy Mewborn, business strategist and advisor, will bring you the stories of how successful women entrepreneurs turn their tragedies into triumphs to create the businesses that are changing the world today. And now, your host, Amy Mewborn.
Nancy Ganzekaufer is a focused, motivated, and dedicated business coach. Through her work, Nancy empowers passionate and creative entrepreneurs to build the life and business they've always wanted. As a mom of 3 young adults and a successful business owner, Nancy understands the unique challenges entrepreneurs face when pursuing their dreams of growing a profitable business. She leads by example through her hard work, encouragement, and most of all, her no BS leadership style. Nancy offers one-on-one and group coaching to guide her clients to get clear on their business identity, offerings, pricing, marketing programs, and sales techniques. This was one of my favorite interviews so far, so make sure you catch it. Welcome, Nancy Ganzekaufer. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in your business.
Thank you for having me, Amy. I really appreciate it. I have kind of a similar background to a lot of people who might be listening, but also unique in a little way. When I left college, I started working at a bank. And when I talk to other coaches, that's often the way they start out. So I worked for 10 years at a bank, and I landed as a first vice president of the mortgage servicing department, running 3 departments of 50 people each, so 150 people. And there I was, pregnant with my second child at that point, and my first child was in the daycare in the building. And I started thinking, this is rough. Like 2 children heading for daycare, pregnant, I think it's time, right? So at that point, my husband was able to increase his income. And when I calculated, how much you're paying for daycare and how much you're paying for clothes and travel, and the kids are crying, they don't want to be there. And I thought, maybe it's time for me to be a stay-at-home mom, which was really never how I pictured my life. I was going to be the CEO of the bank someday and have nannies, right? This is what I thought. But then you see your babies and you go, oh, I need to stay home. So I did that for about 2 years. But during that time period, I thought, okay, I need some adult interaction and I need to use my brain a little bit. So I went back to one of the universities here in New York and I became a personal fitness instructor. I took kinesiology, physiology, and then all the exercise courses. And I ended up actually working for that college, being a trainer in their gym. And I started my own business at home for other moms who had young kids and couldn't get their exercise in. Made a full gym in my basement, trained other moms for about 2 years. Plus I worked at New York Sports and Fitness and worked at Hofstra University training, right? So there went my stay-at-home momdom. But during the day, I did stay with my kids. And then at night when my husband would come home, I go, gotta go. So loved those years. I was in the best shape of my life after 2 kids. And then I got pregnant again with my third, which was planned. So I left personal training because I needed to during the pregnancy. And when he was born with a heart anomaly called transposition of the great vessels. This was very serious. He had open heart surgery at 5 days old and was quarantined for 2 years.
Oh my goodness. 2 years.
Still gives me goosebumps because 2 years, I had 2 young ones, I think 5 and 3, plus I had a newborn who had just had open heart surgery and was quarantined. So those were tough years.
Tell me, what on earth does life look like as a mom for 2 little ones? And then I'm assuming he was in the hospital in quarantine.
Only for 15 days. No, he was home quarantined, meaning my younger ones had to come home from school, don't go near your brother, change your shirt, wash your hands. It was a very stressful time. I mean, even to go pick them up at school, I couldn't do that. I had to have other moms pick them up. I couldn't take them to birthday parties, with a baby, which a lot of moms do. So thankfully, he's 18 now. He's in his first year of college. Knock on something, he's good as gold. It was a fix. We were very lucky. And he's a great musical theater major now. And my other 2 are also doing well. So that was tough. But when he got out of quarantine, I was a businesswoman, right? Chomping at the bit to do something else. Loved my kids, but needed something else. And my mom, who lives in Las Vegas, was living with my father. My mother was a watercolor artist. And she called me one day, and she's president of the art club in her community. She said, I'm giving away all these paintings. She was very prolific. And I'm like, what are you doing that for? She was quite good. So she said, I don't know what to do with them. I said, well, my youngest is now in school. Kevin's in school, and I'm looking for something. Just mail them all to me. I'll figure out what to do with them.
Okay.
So I started having home art parties, kind of like, wine and cheese and sticky tacking art to friends and family's wall, right? They were like, really? And they would invite friends and family, and I would sell artwork for literally $30, unframed, nothing great. Then one day I knew I was onto something, but I couldn't figure out what. And you know what? It got me out. It got me socializing. My mother was happy. Her artwork was selling, made her a little money for her supplies. Mm-hmm. So one day an interior designer walked into a party and said, that would be the perfect, I didn't know she was an interior designer. She's like, that would be the perfect artwork for my client's bathroom. I think if she likes it, I'll design the whole bathroom around it.
Cool.
So I was like, okay. And then she said, can you bring it to the client's house? Absolutely. When I got to the client's house, she's like, can you, the next day or whatever, she said, can you help us frame it? I'm like, sure, no problem. I knew nothing about art, framing, how to hang something, anything. But I just said yes to everything, and I figured it out. So I went to the local framer. They set me up with frame corners. They taught me what to do, mats. They gave me a whole sleeve of mats, a carrying case, and I went and I did my first job. That became, years later, Expressive Living, Art Framing and Accessories, which I just closed down 6 months ago. It was 15 years I did that business very successfully, 2 employees in the house, and we were a shop-at-home service for interior designers' clients for art, framing, and accessories. But to market that business, when I figured out that this is my ideal client, an interior designer, I went and I started, where do interior designers hang out? And I found the Interior Design Society on Long Island. I became the vice president, then the president. I still am a national board member, and now I also am the president of the virtual chapter. So that was that stage. And as I was working with interior designers, my business sense would come out. They would be like, I'm having difficulty with a client, and I don't think I'm charging enough, I'm not profitable. And I found I was coaching these clients on how to make themselves more profitable, and it was really going well. I was well sought after. Mm-hmm. So my next stage of life, I thought, I'm divorced now, and I thought, what do I want to do? Do I want to carry shit around for a living for the rest of my life? Because you're talking 500 pieces of artwork. Right. This is still carpeted walls behind me because I used to have frame corners. Mm-hmm. 2 employees working in the house because I didn't go with an outside showroom. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Let me hang a shingle as a coach and let me see how it goes. Within a year and a half, it was going fabulous. I don't just coach interior designers. I now coach web designers, artists, other coaches. I have a branding company, and I am heavy in the interior design world, but I coach creative entrepreneurs. And I love the coaching so much, I said it's time to shut it down, sell my house, and move anywhere because I'm an online business coach and I can do that.
I love it.
So that's my mini life story. Not so mini, right? But so this is my 3rd business, and this is the one that's definitely going to stick because I finally found that, what my mother told me when I was younger, to stop talking too much. I now make a living talking and coaching and helping other people up their businesses, which never gets boring.
I love that. So first of all, when you say this is the one that's going to stick, the last one was 15 years, so it kind of stuck too.
This is true.
You've done an awful lot in your time, and I think it's hilarious that you were just talking about your mom saying don't talk, because I think back to being in school, and for me, I was never, ever in trouble for anything other than getting my work done and wanting to go help my neighbor get theirs done too.
Interesting.
And so, it's funny how, those things that really were us from the minute basically we were us start to come out as we get older and we don't suppress them anymore.
100%. And that's when people do come to me and say, I'm not sure I'm in the right space. I would say to them, what did you like to do in high school? And what did people come to you for? And you start digging into that. Yeah. And eventually you do find somebody's passion and what really excites them.
That's awesome. I love it. This has already been so fun. So you are my fourth recording of the day. And the last person, Kathy Hahn, she was a financial advisor before she left and went into fitness. I was a financial advisor that left and went and launched fitness studios.
No.
So, apparently this is like the MO of the day, that we're all we're chucking the finance career to go do fitness, and then we're using that as our launch pad for the next thing.
Yes.
So cool.
Very funny.
So you just told me a story about your son, and I can't imagine much being worse or harder than that. Tell me about a day in your business that was really a rough day and how you got past it and turned it into something good.
Well, it's funny because I have a private group, Actionable Entrepreneurs, and I went in last week to tell a story, and I mentioned this podcast interview coming up, because I create content when I feel like, when I want to write emails, sometimes they come out 5 at a time. Mm-hmm. And then I send them to my virtual assistant, and they put them up in my mail system. I use Aweber, and they get scheduled and they go out. Mm-hmm. So I woke up, was it last Friday? On Good Friday. And there was my email that had gone out at 6 a.m. And the subject line was a lesson from my father, the Jesus Christ factor, which is a lesson about how you should have for interior designers, a cushion in your jobs, because you never know if something's going to go wrong. Mm-hmm. My father had taught me a lesson, and he called it the Jesus Christ factor, and said he was a contracts negotiator his whole life. So I created this content a month and a half ago. It gets scheduled, and there I was on Good Friday. The minute I woke up, I looked at my phone and I went, oh no, like this is really, really bad timing. Sure enough, within 5 minutes, I had my first email. Really, Nancy? Really bad timing. It's the holiest day of the year. And I was like, oh my God. Then a second email came in. Take me off your list. I can't believe you would send this. And I was calling one of my VAs, who happens to be my oldest. It works for me now. He doesn't live with me anymore. And I was like, I can't believe we just did this. I can't believe I did this. This is going to be really bad. So I jumped into my private group, and I thought, I'm going to turn this into lemonade. And I told the story really raw, like, mm-hmm. I woke up 3 hours ago and you're not going to believe what I did. So it happens to the best of us. I've responded to each person and told them what happened, that I schedule in advance. And yes, it was absolutely bad timing. And this will make me check my content calendar just a little bit more carefully. So I did get a couple that says that was a really good lesson. Can I ask you a couple of questions? And a couple of people got on my calendar from that email. But you never want to insult anybody.
No, absolutely not. But I will tell you, as an entrepreneur, that kind of stuff happens, unfortunately, way more than we ever want to admit. I don't remember what it was over the past couple of weeks, but I sent out an email to like 3 or 4 people. And immediately after they all went out, I reached out to Infusionsoft and like, can I call those back? And they're like, no, you can't do that. And, you end up having to eat a little bit of crow and say, yeah, things didn't go quite like I thought they would. And
yeah.
That happens.
And you know what? Your brain starts to, what happened to me is my brain started going to other stories that I've had some, not such, proud moments in the past. When I ran Expressive Living, there was a particular designer who emailed us her criteria for artwork.
Yeah.
We sent her back based on her criteria. We hadn't even met with her. She sends another email changing the criteria. We send her back more. Third time changing the criteria again. So I'm there at night, 10 o'clock at night, sitting with my family in front of the TV, and I think I forwarded it to my assistant saying, oh my goodness, do you believe her? Like, this is ridiculous. And as soon as I press send, you think the roof would come off the house, because I went, oh my God, why does it reply instead of forward? I jumped up, and my kids were early teens or maybe a little older, and I'm like, there's got to be a way to call it back. There's got to be. She's got a BlackBerry. At the time, it was all BlackBerry, right? I'm like, she's got a BlackBerry. She's going to get it right away. Oh. And my kids are like, Mom, there is no way to call it back. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I ran into my bathroom and I called her right then and there. And I said, I am so sorry. It wasn't that bad, but it showed my frustration, which it should not have done that. That was for internal venting. Yes. So I learned then to always keep the to blank.
Love it.
Until you type, review, check who you're sending it to, and I've never made that mistake again. Hopefully I'll never do that again. But yeah, these little moments in time, you feel like it's the end of the world at the moment, and then you just sit back and you put it in perspective. And no, she never used me again, by the way.
Well, you know,
over the phone, she was like, I understand, it's no problem. And she explained her criteria change. I'm like, I just, hope you understand. She hadn't read it yet well when she spoke to me. But yeah,
sure.
I never heard from her again.
Well, the reason that I started this podcast was because in the middle of one of my biggest launches, I was launching a membership site. The day that the cart opened, we had done the most extensive funnels we'd ever done before. And we had these very extensive Facebook ad retargeting based on people hitting certain pages and everything. And one of my mentors, Todd Herman, says that whenever he opens a new program, when people start to buy, he picks up the phone and calls them and thanks them individually, which, in the online space is just unheard of. Absolutely. And so I was at the gym one day and my first sale came through, and it was right after the cart opened, and I was so excited. Yes. So I got off the treadmill and I went home to call this girl and welcome her to the program. And I log into Infusionsoft, and none of her emails have gone out welcoming her to the program. And I'm like, well, this is weird. I wonder why. And so I start kind of digging in, and I find out that morning on cart open day, my VA, who had been with me for over 2 years by that time, had accidentally hit delete all on every campaign we'd ever built in Infusionsoft over 7 years.
I use ClickFunnels, and if that happened to me, yeah, I would cry. That's a lot of work.
I did cry, and I got on the phone with Infusionsoft, and I'm like, is there anything we can do? And they're like, well, we can restore your account as of a few days ago. Okay. But we had literally just gone through this huge cleaning of Infusionsoft. So they put everything back, and where we had cleaned everything up to be like 50 campaigns, they gave me 150 campaigns back.
Oh no.
So, that was my story where I'm like, you know what? These are those things that happen to you in business. So I literally had to shut down the launch, and we had to send an email to everyone. Look, we're going to close everything down for right now. This is what happened, and we'll reopen it later. But it was one of those things where I was just sitting there thinking, we always put on this brave face as business owners that everything always goes so well. And, my life is awesome and I'm making all this great money. And, we don't tell each other the crap that goes on, that sometimes, when I launched my first fitness studio, I would come home my first week in business and I would put my head on my husband's shoulder. And I'm like, I'm afraid that I just messed up our entire life. What was I thinking? And those are those days where we doubt ourselves sometimes, and
Definitely.
we're not the only ones. We all go through it. And I really wanted to create a safe place where women could come and say, I've kind of messed up sometimes and it's okay. I picked myself up, I dusted myself off, and off we went and did it again, so.
Yeah, because you know what, in the end, it's really, if you think about it, it's not life or death. It's a communication challenge most of the time, and tweaking a business model. I've had scary moments in my business with not making enough, looking ahead and going, oh my God, there's no money coming in. There's not enough money coming in to pay my VAs. And what have I missed? And what did I not do? And what do I need to change? In that, I think for all coaches, you start out in this experimental stage, right? Figuring out who your ideal client is. You think you know who it is. And then you coach one-on-one for a little while and you go, maybe my ideal client's a little different. And maybe what I thought I was going to teach them is really not what they need to be taught. And you're in this experimental stage for a minimum of a year and a half, if not 2 years, if not longer, right? And it's funny you said that whole lifestyle thing. You know what? I share my lifestyle. It's not that thrilling. I'm a workaholic, but I coached with somebody my very first, when I became a coach, I thought, okay, I need to learn the coaching model to do this online stuff. Excuse me. And I did coach with somebody who I still very much admire. But one of the things, and they taught me a lot, but one of the things I did not like is selling the lifestyle. To me, I don't sell my lifestyle. Everyone knows I work hard. I do some fun things. Of course, I like to do fun things and they'll see it, but I don't sell my lifestyle. It's not how I want to portray myself.
Right.
And some people do, and it works so well for them. You know what? I share my ups and downs and I share the good and the bad. And to me, people relate to you that way.
Yes, I completely agree. And one of the things that I've said is I've kind of been in this phase of life where I've spent a lot of time at my computer. And here in Vegas, we finally are in pool and swimsuit season. And I went to pull out my swimsuit on Saturday and I'm like, yep, I've kind of been letting me go. Yes. I'm doing great things for my business, but I don't know that there's really any such thing as true balance. As entrepreneurs, I think that we can focus on this right now. We maybe focus on this right now, but we don't necessarily give our business, our family, our friends, our health, our spiritual health, all of those things, the balance that they need at any given time.
I agree. It kind of goes in waves. You know what? Yeah. My kids, as many women, your kids come first. When they are going through something, your business and everything else in your life goes down to the bottom. And then you focus on your business and it's a 2-3 year focus. And then, like you say, you get up and you go, I've kind of let myself go. Now, how do I fit my exercise back in, right? As experts, fitness people, I'm like, shit, I have to get on the treadmill. I haven't gotten on the treadmill in a while, So yeah, it is. Do you ever watch Russell Brunson's, any of his videos?
I don't really.
There was one moment in one of his videos that I literally sent to my boyfriend. I said, this describes me, just so you know. He said, I went on vacation with my wife because my wife really wanted to go on vacation. But vacation is not my thing. I love to be at my desk, and he's a crazy funnel person, right? And creating the funnels and this and that. And I want to be serving my clients. And when I'm not doing that, I'm feeling a little lost. I end up, listening to self-help books and business growth books. And that is me. I love vacation. I love travel. My boyfriend and I travel. We'll try once a year to go somewhere really nice, but I'm still connected. Yeah. And that's okay with me. People say you have to disconnect. And I'm like, I don't actually have to.
Well, I have one day out of every week that on Sundays, I actually put my phone in another room. And it's normally just because I need just a little bit of downtime to not be checking my phone all the time, because for me, it's become a compulsion. It's not so much that I have anything terribly urgent going on. It's not that someone needs me. It's that it's almost like I feel important when I look and I'm like, oh, someone emailed me, or oh, someone reached out to me on social media or whatever. And on Sundays, I have actually really made a point of putting my phone in another room and not having it with me. But that was one of the things that we did when we moved here to Vegas, was very much like you were just saying in Russell Brunson. I like what I do. I like working with clients. I like working. I like learning. I'm a huge person in self-improvement. So when my husband and I go on vacation, my dream vacation is this resort called Cabo Azul in San Jose del Cabo, Mexico. And Mike wants to go surfing and, do all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to just sit here by the pool with a lava flow and a really good business book, and I'm good. Yes. So that's what we did when we moved here. Is I built an entire yard where all I have to do is walk out my door and go sit with my book and with my cocktail. And those are the things that eventually, as we start to get older and we realize who we are, what's important to us, those are the things that we build out in our life.
100%. And, I raised 3 kids, and when you're telling them not to look at their phones at dinner time, and then if you sneak your phone, right? So I have the same, I don't have a whole day rule, but I'll look at the clock, and I'll actually sometimes, if I'm really in work mode, I'll set my timer for 2 hours. And the phone cannot be picked up for 2 hours. And then I'll check, and then I'll set the timer again for 2 hours. And I'm not that important, right? So why am I checking? Because I have these very high-level clients that can text me. They can wait 2 hours. So, and we do have rules, like when we're out, my boyfriend and I are out together, we're like, no phones, things like that. But yeah, you get addicted, and you have to always pull yourself back, turn off notifications. No computer today, so you set these rules. It's like, I brush my teeth every morning. I don't look at my phone now until after I've eaten breakfast. That type of stuff, right? Set rules for yourself. But when we love what we do, it's hard, and we get into these negative patterns, which is what it is.
I completely agree. Not too long ago, I guess it was a few years ago at this point, my brother and my sister-in-law lived in San Diego right by my husband, Mike, and I. And it was their last night in San Diego, and they were moving to Nashville. And we all went out for this amazing dinner. And I looked up, and at one point during dinner, every one of the 4 of us were all on our phones.
It's called family bonding around here.
And we're like, this is ridiculous. Take the phones, put them in the center of the table. We can talk for our last night together. We can do this,
It's so true. Amy, there's a family photo. It was my husband. I was on my recliner. It's my little baby bear chair because I'm short. And then it was my husband. My sister and husband were visiting from Atlanta. They were next to them. Then my 3 children. All of us, 100% of us, had computers on our laps with the TV on.
Yep.
And it was, at night, and you're relaxing. But somebody stood up, I don't remember who it was, and took a picture. And it's still one of our famous family photos, and we called it family bonding. We're all sitting at our computers, the TV's on, nobody's watching it, and at one point they said, "Smile, everyone," and we all turned and we all smiled. It's ridiculous, but it's a day and age that you have to find your non-technology moments, your non-working moments, because when you do, even if it's short periods of time, I do feel rejuvenated when I do that.
Sure.
And we vacation too much, but these moments I need.
It seems like the more connected we become via technology, the more disconnected we become as people. And, I will say one thing that I have really enjoyed about doing the podcast is that because we record it with video as well, and you and I are looking at each other, you and I have never met, but we're sitting here chatting like 2 girlfriends, that are just people being people. And I will say, I love that, because I didn't realize before I started the podcast how lonely I was and
Yes.
how I was spending so much time behind this computer not interacting with people, that each day when I do this, I'm always so excited to tell my husband at the end of the day, you wouldn't believe who I talked to today, and here's their story. And it's so much more fun.
It is, and it's energizing. I do all my coaching via Zoom.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad because it keeps my butt on this chair and I have to get up in between and move. But I love to look at the people I coach and really connect with them. And it just doesn't energize me as much when I'm on the phone with them. And I don't think it's as effective for them either. Yeah. So I'm with you. I agree with you. And I think it's great that you do the podcast this way. It makes a big difference.
I just think it's way more fun for me. Yes. And, I said, I mean, when you're kind of getting on with someone that you maybe have never met before, and you're in my case, we'd never met before, it's super comfortable when you get to interact. And I will say that it makes all the difference in the world when I'm working with clients in the same way, because again, you can go so much deeper and everyone is so much more real when you get to look at each other and talk.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Do you ever do Facebook Lives? Do you ever do the two-person Facebook Lives?
So I have never done a two-person Facebook Live. I actually have fought Facebook Live tooth and nail, and I don't really know why, because I'm super comfortable on video. I think part of it is that I feel like before I get on video, I need to have done my hair. And, I just need to show up and look put together and professional. And I was actually telling Kathy when we were chatting earlier that the day that I launched my book on Amazon, I was going for Amazon bestseller status. And one of my girlfriends was like, well, why don't you get on and do Facebook Live? And I said, do you have any idea? This is launch day. I haven't even showered yet today.
It happens.
You want me to get on Facebook Live? And so I went into my husband's room, his office, and I grabbed one of his hats and I put a hat on. I'm like, okay, people, this is how the sausage gets made, because it's not pretty.
That's funny. See, I'll do Facebook Lives, no makeup, curly hair. My natural hair is curly. Not quite wearing a pajama top, but I might be wearing a pajama bottom in my private group, right? Yeah. They see me no matter what.
Love it.
But every Friday I do weekend wind down, and I do the dual Facebook Live, which is so much easier than just talking into a camera, which again, I do in my private group. Short, I don't do these big half-hour things, but my weekend wind down every week is with another guest or two or three. I bring them on and off, and it's just like this. Yeah. And it's easy, and I have wine. And
Love
it's a Friday night, Friday at 4:30 Eastern. I sit there with my wine, and we go live together, and it's just a conversation. And that was a great transition into Facebook Live, and you would probably enjoy it. And yes, it is before I go out on a Friday, so I usually do have my hair done. But my other Facebook Lives, it is what it is.
You had me at wine. For me, a Friday night with a great glass of wine, life's good.
You got to be my guest one time. We have to get you on, because then I turn it into a Podbean podcast. I just put the audio up there. So it's just content, and it helps people. We talk about business.
Love it.
Or personal.
Tell me, when you're doing that, are you doing it through like Be Live, or are you doing it through Facebook Live?
I have owned every software under the sun, just so you know. And
Love
maybe
it.
You have too.
Yeah.
I went through Webinar Jam, GoToWebinar. Now I'm back on Zoom when I do my webinars. Yeah. I love Zoom. I bought Be Live, or I paid for whatever I paid for. Then I realized the reach was not as good as when you do it from your phone. So I have a little, can't grab it at the moment, but it's got flexible leg tripod. I literally stick it right here next to my camera, and I go live from my phone, and my guest has to go live from their phone. And what's cool about it, and I teach all my clients this, your whole friends list gets immediately notified. Their whole friends list gets immediately notified. Then I share it on my business page. Then I share it in my group. And it's everywhere. And by the end of the broadcast, it could be 300 to 600 people have come in at least for a little while.
Yeah.
By the end of a week, 1,500 people have watched. And it's extending my reach. It's extending my guests' reach. And it's just fun. It's fun. It's casual. There's no agenda. It's just, let's talk about business. Let's talk about what's working, what's not working. And they can give a little, link later. They go in comments and give a link to their website if anyone needs them. And it's so much fun. It's my favorite part of the week.
I love that though. And it just goes to show that we really are beings that crave interaction. And business, I always say, being an entrepreneur, if we're behind our computer, it can get really, really lonely because we're often sitting back here. And it's so important to have a tribe of people that support you, that cheer you on, that you can ask questions of, or that you can just pick up a glass of wine with on Friday night and talk about your business.
100%. Don't you feel depressed some days if you don't talk to anybody and you're just doing a content day or a course day? I can't do a whole day like that. I feel like I don't feel energized.
Well, I'm going to tell one of my deep, dark secrets.
Yeah.
When we moved here to Vegas, I said we live kind of in the suburbs, and we moved here May 1st of last year. And I got in my car last week and I got my 3,000 mile reminder that I had driven 3,000 miles on my car since last May.
Oh my God. I haven't had to fill up my gas tank in a while, so I don't even want to know how many miles I've done. But it's true. Somebody said to me, do you ever get out? I said, no, we do get out, but not during the day.
Well, for me, my gym is like a half a mile away in my community.
Oh, nice.
My grocery stores are a mile away down the road. And so I realized this as I was headed down to a co-working space, because I decided last week I was going to go join a co-working space.
Okay.
Because I really have been way too cut off from the world.
And I don't know if I feel that as much yet, because I only closed the other business down 6 months ago and I had 2 employees and I had 3 kids who the last one finally went to school in September and they still come back on break. So
sure.
I've had years and years of constant people in the house. So I'm kind of enjoying this. And my boyfriend works for Microsoft and he works in the house. So he's downstairs, I'm upstairs, so I'm not completely alone. And of course, my dog and my cat.
Yeah. Well, I have a little Cavalier, Emma, and not too long ago I was recording an episode and she's 14 and she's got some quirks now as she's getting a little older. And we were to the very, very, very end of the episode and she was sitting over there and she got an itch and she started thumping. And I mean, she was thumping on my hardwood floors and my guest was looking at me and she's looking at me. And when I stopped the record, she's like, oh my gosh, I was waiting for stormtroopers to come through your door.
I'm lucky my dog's not barking right now. In the beginning, I had my hand on so I could hit mute really quick, hoping that you were talking at the time. I have a toy Yorkie poo who's just very yappy.
How cute.
So, this is what happens though. And if it happens, acknowledge it. We work from home and that's part of it.
It's just real life. It's as real as it gets.
Yes, it's as real as it gets.
So tell me, what is the number one resource that you feel you've had in your business that's helped you grow?
There's a couple. That's why I'm struggling. I'm like, the number one resource.
Tell us a few of them.
So the number one resource for me was when my son started working for me and I had him train on ClickFunnels. He is now a ClickFunnels expert. And the strategies that we put in place together literally changed the face of my business. When I say overnight, And I mentioned it before. I'm looking ahead. I've done 2 years of coaching. I wasn't making a ton of money. I still had the other business. I was doing it, 3/4 time. And I thought, this is awesome. But then when I went and looked, people were aging out of the programs that I had created. And I went, oh no. So my son and I, who was already very trained at that point, we sat down and we strategized. And over one weekend, and then 2 weeks for him to put everything in place, we changed the face of my business. I now have 30 clients on a subscription-based program, which is not like many coaches. I really thought about what was working for me to get people to the next level in their business. And when I really analyzed it, I stopped listening to all the other coaches who I admire, what worked for them. Sometimes you just have to be quiet in yourself and figure out what business model works for you and your ideal client. And when I upped this program and I started communicating it authentically and right, and I was so proud of it and I felt so good about it, it completely changed what I was doing. And now my clients are doing fabulous and I'm doing fabulous and I'm enjoying the business. Working hard. So I'd say the two things that changed my business was having a virtual person that was as dedicated to the growth of my business as I was. And I'm lucky that it is my son, which isn't always, beautiful, by the way. When they don't wake up when they're supposed to and they're not in your house and you're like trying to get them. So there's still family dynamics there. And then the ClickFunnels, we have opt-in pages that convert between 65 and 85 for webinars, sales pages that convert at such a high level. And those two things combined just made me soar. And now that's what I teach. When I coach coaches, I listen to them though. Like I listen to what they've done during their experimental stage. And we discuss different business models that exist. I don't do cookie cutter coaching. I'm happy to teach you how I've upped my business and what turned my business around. But then I really have to, with you, analyze if it's going to work for you or whether you're more comfortable selling 10 sessions as a start date and an end date, and how your business model works depending on what kind of coaching you do. And I've gone through, like I said, I've bought every program. I've hired many coaches and been trained on how to do it many different ways. The summit model. I now teach the anti-summit model. And everybody's different. So that to me is what changed my business. I don't just have one program. I teach to everybody. It's very personal and it's based on their history, their confidence, their clarity, what they want to deliver to their clients, and we figure it out. And that's what I'm best at.
So something you said earlier, and it went in and it stuck for a minute and then it went out, but I want to come back and revisit it. And it was you probably said it about 15 or 20 minutes ago, but you were talking about clients trying to have to figure it out, when you're first starting in your business. And you talked about one-on-one coaching and starting there. And I want to make sure we come back to that because I often find people that have gone and created these online programs or group training programs. They don't really know who their ideal client is yet. They don't really know what their biggest problems are yet. They don't really know how they want to be serviced yet. And all of those things, and they put all this time and all this effort into creating something before they've ever gone out onto the field of play and just worked with a few clients.
Yes.
And then built it around that.
Yes, they did. They build what they want to teach as opposed to what people really need or want, right? Or they may need it, but they don't know they need it. So it really makes a huge difference to start with one-on-one coaching. 100% a coach should start with one-on-one coaching because you really do flush out what, in the end, you analyze, what did I really coach them on and what actually moved them to that next level? What made them more money or shifted their mindset? Whatever kind of coaching you do, what caused them to have success? And when you look back, it's not the program you put together from beginning to end, because they're not going to do it anyway at that point, right? Sure. They're going to go 50% or 70% if you're lucky. So the one-on-one coaching is always your starting point as far as I'm concerned. And that's what helps you get clarity. Then you can go, okay, I know what I'm doing now. Now I can put together a small group and understand all the different levels that everyone might be at and how to move them before you even start a program that's, just, for them to buy. Why can't I come up with a word right now? It's
an online program.
Thank you. Yeah. I was just I'm in the process now of writing content for a recorded, self-paced program. And it's been 2 years that I've been coaching one-on-one, and then started small groups about 8 months ago. If I tried to put that together first, it would have been to crickets. Nobody would have bought it.
Well, it would have looked completely different. It wouldn't have sold. You would have been discouraged. You would have thought that you were a failure, not that you just had maybe missed the mark, maybe even just by a little bit.
Right.
But one of the coaches that I'm actually working with this year is Ryan Levac and his Ask Method Coaching.
Yes.
And it's all about going in and really deep dive surveying your clients and finding out who they are. What did they need? Why did they buy from you? What kind of results are they seeing? What are their biggest pain points? All of those things. And the thing is, if you do that work, it literally gives you the exact words that should go on your sales pages and should go in your emails and 100%. All of those things. The conversation, the sales conversation is completely different when you know those things versus when you've just decided to go and put out an online program and start running Facebook ads and you're like, all right, I got what I know you want.
I know. It's really different. And I remember the day I switched to, I don't do free consultations anymore. I remember when I switched to paid consultations, the panic, right? Because I was used to being really busy with a lot of 20-minute conversations that went 50 minutes, right? And giving and giving and giving. And I'm thinking, I'm closing a lot of them. I teach sales. I love sales. But my calendar is full and I'm exhausted. And are they actually my ideal client? So I switched to, I don't do free anymore. I do paid. What a difference it makes when you switch to paid. But I couldn't have done that the first year. I couldn't have done it, I did it towards the end of the second year when I had enough traffic and enough visibility in the space I needed to be in to fill my calendar. And the day I first offered the reduced cost strategy call, which is what if you've never spoken to me before, I got 15 people on my calendar who paid for, and I was like, oh my God, this actually works.
Yeah.
This was a strategy I had come up with my son, like no more of these free, because you're getting all the tire kickers and they're not really your ideal client. And I was scared to death that I was going to be left penniless.
So
and the complete opposite happened.
This may be the most powerful thing that has come out of our entire conversation, because you have just basically turned the entire concept of the coaching world on its ear.
I know.
Because we've all been told to do free consults. So tell me, do you mind sharing how much you charge for an initial consult? Not
at all. $97 for 50 minutes, 50. My accent sometimes makes it sound like 15. So I always have to. So a 50-minute consult with me, it's straight coaching, straight business coaching. I ask questions, you answer, you tell me what's going on. We work on that. By the time you get off the phone, you have a plan. And when I tell you it's not a sales call, at the end, if I feel like it's a good fit and I feel their enthusiasm, I'll say, would you like to know how you could continue to work with me? Or I don't even get to that point and they'll say, this was so much information, like I would like to keep working with you. What programs do you have? And again, I don't go, this is my menu. I say the one I think you'd fit perfectly into. And I'm always honest about that.
Yeah.
If you don't need me twice a month with email and tech support, then I'm not going to offer that to you because it's overkill. I don't care if it's my highest price. You don't need that, and you'll end up resentful and I'll end up exhausted. So I'll say, you know what, you're already really experienced. You already have this, and this down pat, right? You're clear and concise. I have a whole profit puzzle like that. With all the pieces in place, you will actually be running a very profitable business. So I'll analyze that. I'll go, you know what, you really only need to speak to me once a month, or I'm going to suggest twice a month in the beginning, and then you can move to once a month. Or if I have a group that makes sense for you at the level you're at, the profession you're in, I'll say I have a group starting. I think it would be good for you. And, should they say, I don't really like a group, I want one-on-one, then I'd say, okay, understandable. Then I'll let them know what other program I have that I think would work for them. I don't sell to a deadline. Like I have a group starting tomorrow. It's my second group. This one is specific to interior designers. And I take 6 in a small group. It has 4 right now. We're starting tomorrow. That's okay. I don't get, oh my God, I have to sell to the date. And by 2 weeks from now, when we meet again, there'll be 6. And I will have started a third group. So I don't do what a lot of coaches do. You know what? I start with one person. If I start with one person, lucky them.
Yeah, you're completely right. You are completely right that they've ended up with private coaching at a group rate, and then you get to add them in as you go along. That's amazing. Because
it's stressful as a coach to be like, I have a launch on April 1st, and I gotta sell it. What I do is get yourself visible, get yourself with collaborations, and drive the people to your calendar with the reduced cost strategy call. And if it's a great synergy and you feel you can help them and they feel good about you, they're going to ask you. And it changes that whole learn how to sell, even though I can teach you my desire sales formula. I can flow you through a sales call and get you to be a really great seller. But you don't have to sell if you do it this way. You just have to provide value.
Well, the thing is, with the free consult, I think a lot of times a client asks a question, you're like, well, I'll cover that in my program. Whereas when someone has paid you for your time, then they ask you a question and you give an honest answer.
Right.
And it changes the entire flow of a conversation. And honestly, if someone's paying you in the first place, then chances are they're probably a pretty decent prospect. And they see the value in coaching.
Exactly. And Amy, I even do this with my interior design clients. Because my past business was in interior design industry, I'm heavy on that side. But same with an interior designer. And it's the same concept no matter what you do when it comes to if you're a service provider. Certain industries are a little different, but if someone calls an interior designer and says, can you come to my house? So many of them do this for free. And I'm like, no, 1.5 to 2 hour consult. It's a meet and greet. And you can actually give your ideas because you're getting paid for it.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, like, will people actually pay even though other designers don't? Yes, they do, because you've established yourself as a professional. You're telling them what value that they're going to get by the time you're walking out the door. So they know they're getting tangible ideas that they can then go to someone else, do it themselves, or continue on with you. And it changes the face of your coaching business. It changes the face of any service business. It's actually amazing. And that was a huge shift in my mindset. And now if you are at the right level of your coaching business and you're generating enough traffic, it's not even based on list size. I only have 3,500 on my list.
Wow.
Yet I have 30 clients.
But you probably have a very engaged list because of how you communicate with them. You have created a relationship with people instead of getting an opt-in and then someone just kind of disappearing until you're going to sell them the next thing 6 months from now.
Right. And I have free opt-ins on my website. There are definitely free opt-ins because that's the way everyone taught me to start. And it's still a very good policy. Everyone should have that. It gets them into your system. And I have a series of letters that go out that tell a little bit about me, and they get to know me. And then they're, next thing you know, they're being asked to be in my private group, which I'm live every day. So they start to get to know me even more. And my weekend wind down, like I'm out there, joint webinars, single webinars. It's getting the traffic. If enough people are watching you, that's the first step. Get enough people to be watching you who are potentially your ideal client. And then you can start shifting. So I'm not saying anyone should start a coaching business and go right for the paid consultation. That will probably fail for you and make you feel terrible about yourself when it was really never you in the first place.
So we have been going an hour. And it's so funny because when we started, before we pressed record, Nancy asked me, well, how long do these normally go? Not normally this long, but we have had so much fun. But before we leave, I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity, because you dropped so many valuable nuggets. Can you tell our listeners, where do they find you? And if someone is kind of in that place where they need to up their sales or some of those things that you really help with, tell us a little bit about what you have going on in your business, where you feel like you can help them, and where they can find you.
So they can find me, which I hope you'll provide a link because I'm going to spell it.
Yes.
I'm branded as my name, Ganzekaufer.com. And on that homepage, there's 3 buttons based on what you do. If you're a coach, if you're just an online entrepreneur up in your business, or you're an interior designer, you click that link and it'll take you to a page that you can opt into my $97 reduced cost strategy call. And again, that's an hour of straight giving. What we do really, they tell me about their business, their frustrations, where they've been, how their sales have been. And then I start asking questions about who your ideal client is. What are your ladder of services right now? What's been working for you? What's not? How large is your list? Do you have a VA? Do you have an email? Do you do those things consistently? And I start hammering out, again, I don't have it right in front of me, but my profit puzzle, I start to find out which pieces of the puzzle may need more work. And I definitely drive them to my free exercise called Your Business in Words. It is what I am known for in many circles. It was a way of the old-fashioned elevator speech. It's a free opt-in on my site under the resources page, and I believe we're providing it to your listeners now. And it's an exercise where they give 4 sentences about who they are, what they do, how they do it, so someone can actually imagine working with them, and the excitement that comes from working with them. That exercise is literally the greatest networking, online or offline, paragraph you could have for yourself, and it's almost the beginning of your branding process. It makes you think, what do I do? And for whom? And who am I? So it really draws people to you. So somebody I know who did it, they actually won a networking award at a networking event when they stood up and did their business in words. And I was like, oh, that's exciting. So I developed that exercise about 2 years ago, and it still sticks. So it comes along with a 30-minute webinar plus a writable PDF where they can work through it themselves.
Wow. Well, thank you. This has been such a joy. I can't even tell you.
Thank you so much.
Today we talked sales funnels. If you would like our free guide to sales funnels, you can get them in the show notes at lemonadepodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to Turning Lemons into Lemonade, where women go for support and encouragement to hear how other women business owners turn their setbacks into successes to create 6- and 7-figure businesses. We look forward to seeing you next week.